Ralnak Dominion was not known for its diplomacy, subtlety, or personal hygiene. It was known for fear, unfiltered, industrial-strength, bowel-loosening fear. For 100 cycles, the Galactic Concordance had failed to curb their campaign of terror. Planets didn't surrender to the Ralnak. They preemptively evacuated, detonated their own government buildings, and left farewell notes reading, "We hope this scorched rock meets your needs." The Ralnak weren't pirates. They weren't conquerors. They were what happened when nihilism picked up a rocket launcher and unionized. Led by Supreme Executor Cragthul, who once vaped a senator on live holovision for using the word negotiate. They thrived on chaos, submission, and the kind of reputation that made warlords send gift baskets labeled, "Please no." Then they hit Earth. Not attacked exactly. Attacked implies mutual engagement, strategy, and the possibility of a fair fight. The Ralnak did not attack Earth. They selected Earth. A small blue planet on the edge of the Orion Arm, previously uncontacted, with just enough civilization to make it a tantalizing new target, and just enough naivete to ensure a quick victory. The first ship, a dreadnought by any definition that included unnecessarily large and deeply compensating, entered Earth's orbit over the Atlantic Ocean. Cragthul, eager for a good vaporizing, activated the broadcast system. "This is the Ralnak Dominion," he growled, voice amplified across radio waves, satellite transmissions, and one very confused toaster in Glasgow. "You are now under our rule. Your leaders will submit, your citizens will kneel, and your resistance will be short and very on fire." There was a pause. Then a voice came through. It was human, calm, male, American accent with a Midwestern twang that somehow sounded both friendly and deeply bored. "Hey, yeah, sorry. I'm gonna need you to repeat that. Got most of it, but my buddy Dave just spilled beer on the console." Cragthul blinked. He didn't blink often because his species, eyelids, were ornamental at best, but he did it now, just to confirm that reality had not fractured like a cheap mug. "This is not a negotiation, human. This is a declaration of your subjugation." The voice returned. "Cool, cool, cool. So, couple questions. 1, do we have to fill out paperwork for that, or is it more of a vibe thing? 2, is your ship supposed to be smoking?" It was. Technically, it wasn't smoke. It was a pressurized coolant leak. But the human didn't know that, and Cragthul really didn't want to explain it. The human continued. "Name, Cooper, by the way, Cooper Reed. You can call me Coop, most people do. You've caught us at kind of a weird time. We've got a full-blown alien apocalypse pool going, and you showing up just moved Linder into second place. So thanks for that." Cragthul muted the channel and turned to his second executor, Vrel. "Is this how they speak?" Vrel pulled up several terabytes of human communications, and after 0.2 seconds, replied with a solemn, "Yes, executor. This is entirely normal." Cragthul was unfamiliar with fear. It had always been a thing he caused, not felt. But as the Earth space agencies responded by laughing, and the United Nations emergency session turned into a dance party because nobody brings drinks like Finland, Cragthul felt a chill. He gave the order. Launch the probes, activate the terror beacons, deploy the orbital bombardment. He expected wails, screams, chaos. He got something else. A TikTok trend. Explosions in the sky over New Jersey turned into a remix of Firestarter by The Prodigy, set to fireworks. The destruction of a naval base off the Pacific coast was re-edited into a Marvel-style trailer called Space Jerks Get Wrecked. Cragthul watched in real time as his campaign of galactic domination was converted into meme content and sold as NFTs. He demanded answers. Vrel, showing signs of a pending existential breakdown, held up a projection. "Executor, they are not responding as expected. They appear to interpret terror as a challenge, a game even." A new broadcast cut through the feed. "Hey guys, Coop again. So we've been watching your antics and got some notes. First, your terror beacons, real 2006 energy. Second, I took a joyride in one of your shuttles, handles like a wet sock. You might want to check the inertial dampeners. I spilled coffee and it ended up on the ceiling. Third." There was a noise, a bang, followed by another voice. "Cooper, you idiot, did you just launch a missile?" "Hypothetically." Cragthul blinked again. Did a human civilian launch one of our missiles?" Yes, Vrel said, staring at the screen with the thousand-yard gaze of someone realizing that the universe contained horrors far beyond war. The missile, now under human control, turned a perfect 180 in space and slammed into the dreadnought's secondary engine pod. The explosion was impressive. Not devastating, but enough to send the ship listing slightly, like a drunk whale attempting ballet. Coop's voice crackled back on. Okay, that one's on me, but hey, good news, you've just qualified for the Galactic Prank Wars. You'll be competing against Australia. Cragthul had no idea what that meant, but somewhere deep in his bony exocortex, he knew it was worse than death. The real invasion hadn't even started yet. The humans weren't deploying military assets. They weren't even panicking. They were having fun. And that, more than anything, was what truly terrified the Ralnak Dominion. Because for the first time in their long, brutal reign, they were not feared. They were being trolled. The Ralnak dreadnought limped over the Pacific like a wounded parade float. Damage reports flooded in, engineers screamed at each other in increasingly shrill frequencies, and someone in weapons control was still weeping because a human had hacked their targeting system using a phone and an app called Space Yeehaw. Cragthul didn't understand what an API key was, but it had just cost him 2 propulsion coils, a snack bay, and several layers of dignity. He summoned Vrel again. The status. Bad, Vrel said, blinking sideways. We've attempted retaliation strikes in 23 sectors. Each one has resulted in unintended consequences. Explain. Their space agency, NASA, mocked our orbital physics, claimed we were overcompensating for thrust vectors, and offered us remedial tutoring. Their Navy tried to tow our escape pods. Their civilians have painted over our terror drones with cat faces and sent them back with apology cupcakes. An executor. He hesitated. Cragthul's eyes narrowed. Speak. They reverse-engineered one of our plasma grenades and used it to power a blender. They are now selling smoothies with the slogan, "Now with alien firepower," and claim it has electrolytes from another dimension. Sales have surpassed 10 million units. Cragthul's mandibles clicked audibly. Meanwhile, Cooper Reed was eating a slice of pizza on live broadcast. "Sup, folks," he said through a mouthful of cheese. "Today's episode is sponsored by Orbital Incompetence. Big thanks to Craggy and the gang for donating us a shuttle, a plasma battery, and an unintentional fireworks display over Idaho." He held up a canister. "This baby here, turns out your antimatter fuel pods can charge a Tesla in under 3 seconds. That's very green of you. Big ups for the environmental contribution." Cragthul tore a console off the wall and screamed into it. Vrel offered a small whimper of consolation. "We've attempted psychological warfare. We sent them mind-shatter broadcasts encoded with entropy-based patterns. And they put them to dubstep." The executor stood silently. In the background, an engineering officer announced that Cooper had renamed the Dreadnought's network to Free Wi-Fi, No Invaders Allowed. No one could change it back. He'd somehow made himself administrator. Down on Earth, Cooper and a crew of equally unqualified but terrifyingly enthusiastic volunteers were now piloting what used to be Ralnak landing ships. Coop's second in command was a woman named Gia, former MIT physicist, got bored, now hacked alien tech for fun and made music out of laser pulses. "All right, team," she said, slapping a schematic onto the wall of what used to be a Ralnak troop carrier and was now rebranded as the USS Caffeine Overdose. "Here's the plan. We're going to intercept another Ralnak fleet near Mars. Then we're going to prank them so hard their ancestors feel it." "Question," said Coop, raising a wrench. "Will there be snacks?" Gia rolled her eyes. "We're humans with alien fusion cores. We can make snacks out of dark matter." "Proceed," Coop said solemnly. Meanwhile, back in Dominion High Command, Cragthul's performance reviews were being quietly edited to include phrases like sudden decline in leadership effectiveness and unplanned viral humiliation. To retaliate, the Ralnak mobilized their elite ground forces. 15,000 troops, anti-grav tanks, atmospheric disruptors, cloaking fields. They landed in the Sahara Desert, ready for annihilation. They were greeted by a music festival, specifically the Burning Man Intergalactic Edition. Somewhere between the sandstorm, the LED jellyfish kites, and the interpretive dancers reenacting the moon landing with sock puppets, the Ralnak broke. A trooper tried to fire his plasma cannon and was hugged by a man covered in body paint and glitter who shouted, "You're seen, brother." The cannon melted. Another trooper attempted to vaporize a drum circle and was absorbed into it. He emerged 12 hours later with a beard and a sitar. The Ralnak commander attempted to request an airstrike. He was handed a glow stick and a flyer that read, "You are the weapon, feel the peace." After losing all chain of command to an unregulated wave of shirtless diplomacy and psychedelic enlightenment, the entire force surrendered. Voluntarily. Cragthul got the report in silence. He scrolled through footage of his elite stormtroopers trying to explain war protocol to a group of Californian ravers chanting, "Love conquers laser beams." He stared into the abyss. The abyss vaped and offered him a discount on sandals. But the final straw, the moment the Ralnak truly understood what they'd unleashed, came not from Earth's governments nor its armies. It came from Florida. Specifically, a Floridian named Randy who had somehow acquired a stolen hover bike, a flamethrower, and an alien translation headset set to aggressive. Randy, clad in American flag swim trunks, aviators, and a tank top that read "Make space scared again," declared war on the Ralnak personally. He did not wait for orders. He launched himself into orbit, screaming. Footage from the Ralnak cruiser Doom's Herald showed Randy landing directly in their hangar bay, belching fire and demanding trial by combat. The crew, confused but protocol-bound, obliged. Randy beat their champion with a lawn chair. The chair was later classified as a Class X relic by the Galactic Concordance. Cragthul watched the feed. He did not speak. He simply turned to Vrel and said, "How many of them are like this?" Vrel answered, voice hollow, "All of them." Outside, humanity was no longer reacting to the invasion. They were monetizing it, celebrating it, and preparing to do it again. They had tasted galactic chaos. And they were addicted. The Galactic Concordance didn't like Earth. It wasn't a prejudice thing. It was more of a collective, bureaucratic flinch, like when you hear someone shout YOLO in a munitions depot. Earth was unstable, unvetted, and culturally allergic to following the rules of galactic civilization. Worse, it was now trending. Thanks to the Ralnak's failed invasion, Earth had gone viral. Every species with a data node was watching the chaos in real time, and not in horror. In fascination. Because somehow, against all logic and probability, Earth hadn't just survived an encounter with the galaxy's most feared terrorists. It had bullied them. That's when the Earth delegation showed up to the Concordance summit, uninvited and deeply caffeinated. They didn't dock a ship, they hacked one. A stolen Ralnak diplomatic cruiser arrived at Docking Bay 3 wearing a giant Earth flag spray-painted on the hull with the words Team Chaos underneath. Inside were 6 humans, a llama, no one knew why, and Cooper Reed, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and aviator shades over his standard-issue orbital menace grin. Coop stepped out chewing gum like it owed him money and slapped a high-ranking Concordance official on the shoulder. "Hey there, space friends. Sorry for crashing the party, or should I say, liberating the party." The Concordance chancellor, a 12-eyed cephalodian named Yintvar, twitched. "You are not authorized to attend this summit. The human species has not completed cultural standardization, economic vetting, or linguistic calibration." "Sounds like a you problem," Coop replied. Yintvar opened his mouth to respond, but found his translator gagging on Earth slang. Behind him, a political observer from the Threxian Order was live-streaming the event, commenting, "They just walked in with snacks. No authorization. What are humans?" Coop threw a box of donuts onto the negotiation table. "Let's talk peace," he said. Yintvar hesitated, then took a jelly-filled one. The Threxian burst into tears. While the Concordance tried to regain composure, the Ralnak were flailing. had enacted Protocol 9, historically reserved for planetary-level insurrections. Unfortunately, no protocol existed for entire species too weird to threaten. On every front, Earth was winning not through force, but through utter unpredictability. Their scientists reverse-engineered Ralnak stealth tech into mood-sensitive invisibility capes and sold them to teenagers. Their economists used Dominion resource logistics to create a galactic cryptocurrency called Boop Coin, which tanked the Ralnak stockpile overnight when Reddit got involved. Their biologists biohacked a Ralnak warbeast into an emotional support companion named Snuggledeath. And their engineers, God help them, turned a dreadnought into a party yacht. Dubbed the SS Nope, it now floated near Saturn, pulsing with neon and dubstep, broadcasting a 24/7 feed of what Earth media had dubbed the reverse invasion party. Aliens from across the galaxy showed up to get mildly electrocuted, drink radioactive cocktails, and try human hot sauce, which was now classified as a non-lethal weapon under Concordance Treaty 44G. Cragthul watched it all in silent, desperate fury. His latest fleet had suffered an unprecedented fate. They'd defected. Not to another empire, to Coop's mailing list. Ships were signing up for invasions with style, requesting conversion kits to turn their carriers into food trucks, amusement parks, or indie game studios. One cruiser turned itself into a traveling opera house that only performed sea shanties. The Dominion was fracturing. Desperate to salvage his reign, Cragthul enacted a plan known only to a few, Operation Blight Lance. The goal was simple: find the human homeworld's nerve center, destroy it. Cut off the chaos at its source. He personally led a strike team to Earth, targeting what scans suggested was the central command of planetary operations. A massive complex filled with interconnected communications, resource management, and volatile energy consumption. Walmart Supercenter 382, Peoria, Illinois. Cragthul arrived cloaked, masked, and armed with enough firepower to neutralize a moon. He exited the dropship and was promptly run over by a shopping cart being piloted by a child named Kevin who had consumed 6 packs of Skittles and was currently explaining wormholes to a very confused cashier. The team scattered. They engaged in tactical formation inside the frozen food aisle, only to be overwhelmed by an ambush from 3 senior citizens in matching t-shirts labeled Coupon Killers. One commando attempted to deploy a terror grenade. It was mistaken for a clearance item and bartered for 3 jars of pickles and a tube of glitter. Another was lost to what Earth military doctrine classified as Black Friday Protocol. Cragthul made it to the security room. Inside was a man in a neon vest eating Slim Jims and watching 20 surveillance feeds with the expression of someone who had seen God and called him a jackass. "Welcome to Walmart," he said, unblinking. "You want batteries or a lawsuit?" Cragthul drew his plasma blade. The man pressed a button. AC/DC's Thunderstruck began playing. Security doors slammed shut. Within 90 seconds, the Ralnak strike team had been herded, hogtied, and duct taped to a pallet of discount trampolines. A manager named Brenda walked in, asked if they had price-matched themselves, and began paperwork for improper alien entry. Cragthul surrendered. They didn't even call the military. They called customer service. News broke galaxy-wide. The Dominion had failed to conquer a human retail establishment. Within hours, 13 client states declared independence. The Ralnak treasury crashed. Morale bottomed out like a meteor in a dry lake bed. Back on the SS Nope, Coop and Gia toasted over radioactive mojitos while Randy, the Floridian Fury, taught a group of alien diplomats how to arm wrestle an iguana. Gia checked the latest headlines on her tablet. "Dominion's crumbling," she said. "Cragthul been demoted to sub-executor of apologies." "About time," Coop replied. "He owes me a new drone. Mine exploded when I tried to microwave lasagna in it." Gia blinked. "Why would you microwave?" "Science. A drone. I said science." She shook her head and raised her glass. To humanity. To weaponized absurdity, Coop replied. Far away, in the ruins of what used to be the Ralnak flagship, Cragthul sat alone in a pile of shredded galactic dignity, surrounded by resignation letters, inflatable flamingos, and a coupon for 50% off bulk therapy. He stared at the words stamped across his last official order. Denied raisin too human. Galactic power vacuums don't stay empty. They get filled, quickly, violently, and often by the loudest thing in the room. Right now, that thing was Earth. With the Ralnak Dominion reduced to a therapy group and a commemorative fridge magnet collection, the galaxy was in chaos. Not war chaos, human chaos. Which was worse, because it involved pop-up food trucks, unsanctioned theme songs, and the sudden introduction of dodgeball as a diplomatic solution. Humanity wasn't conquering. They were franchising. The first Earth-style embassy opened on the Threxian moon city of Zilvarsh. It offered political dialogue, peacekeeping services, and a 24/7 pancake bar. In under a week, it was ranked the one tourist attraction in 3 sectors and had launched a spin-off sitcom starring an ambassador, a talking blender, and a giant crab named Linda. Coop's personal brand, unlicensed problem solver, became the backbone of Earth's informal galactic presence. No official chain of command, no oversight. Just a man, a team of hyper-competent weirdos, and a galaxy full of situations begging to be dismantled creatively. On the diplomatic front, Earth formed the chaotic neutral alliance. Entry requirements included basic intelligence, non-aggression protocols, and a full viewing of Die Hard to understand Earth's foreign policy. Meanwhile, Cragthul was trying to fade into obscurity under an alias, Greg. It didn't work. He'd been tracked down by a galactic documentary crew filming a series called When Empires Fall, Whoops Edition. The footage of him being attacked by an angry Roomba, modified by a group of third-grade students in Nebraska, had gone hyperviral. There were mugs, t-shirts, a theme song. He didn't leave his bunker, not because he was ashamed. Because the human fan club outside kept asking for selfies. The rest of the Dominion wasn't faring better. What was left of their fleet was now part of the Galactic Renegade Raceway, a death-defying space rally featuring weaponized ships, announcer bots with questionable filters, and a human pilot named Trish who never wore a seatbelt and referred to spacetime as her racetrack baby. Former Ralnak battleships now served as mobile casinos, school buses, and one particularly ambitious ramen shop. But Earth didn't just cause cultural disruption. They exported dangerous ideas. One planet, Nurzak 5, declared its independence from a theocratic oligarchy after watching 4 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Another species, previously bound by genetic caste systems, broke the hierarchy entirely because humans let their dogs wear sunglasses and no one stopped them. And then came the real kicker. The Council of 18, keepers of ancient galactic law, never once overthrown in 60,000 years, invited Coop to speak. No one knew why. Probably because the previous speaker, a highly decorated strategic AI named Logicar Prime, had exploded after watching Earth's concept of comedy. Coop arrived in the only way he knew how, riding a heavily modified hover chicken, wearing a jetpack and a tuxedo shirt that said formal enough. The chamber fell into dead silence. Coop dismounted. All right, nerds, let's talk systems. Counselor Mavrax, a crystalline entity held together by sheer bureaucracy, vibrated with unease. You are not qualified to restructure galactic doctrine. True, Coop said, popping a lollipop into his mouth, but I am qualified to point out how dumb it all is. A slow gasp. You've built an entire galactic framework around hierarchy, obedience, and the illusion of control. And then you ran into us, a species that invented nuclear fission before realizing our own species was full of idiots. He strolled past ancient symbols of power, knocked over a ceremonial urn, didn't notice. You don't need a new empire, you need therapy, you need snacks, you need a sense of humor and a better risk assessment algorithm. He stopped in front of the central dais. Or, you could just try not declaring war every 5 minutes and see how that feels. Mavrax attempted a response. It came out as static. Another counselor whispered he might be the Messiah. Back on Earth, Gia was busy designing the first cross-cultural training center, where alien diplomats learned how to handle human unpredictability through improv, dodgeball, and a how to not freak out during karaoke module. Randy, meanwhile, had taken to patrolling the asteroid belt in a ship held together by duct tape, barbecue sauce, and what could only be described as aggressive patriotism. He had declared himself space sheriff. No one argued. Human-led peacekeepers now operated across 3 sectors. Their missions weren't typical. Case in point, the Zarn conflict resolution. 2 insectoid species were locked in a bitter dispute over mineral rights. They'd fought for decades. Nothing worked. Enter the Earth team. They brought inflatable jousting poles, built a foam arena, and told both sides that whoever won best of 7 got the mineral rights. The loser got a consolation pizza party. They agreed. The event was televised. Ratings beat the previous record holder, which had been a black hole merger. Neither side cared about minerals afterward. They started a joint wrestling league. Gia, monitoring the peace reports, shook her head. Somehow it's working. Coop shrugged. That's humanity for you. We suck at doing things the normal way. But if there's a weird, loud, questionably legal route to harmony, we'll find it. She raised an eyebrow and blew something up on the way. Probably. The galaxy was changing. The Ralnak Dominion was now a tourist attraction. Their capital, once a fortress of terror, had been converted into the Museum of Tactical Failure. Visitors could ride the invasion simulator, which ended with them getting dunked in glitter and shame. Earth wasn't in charge of the galaxy, but they were its new problem child. And the galaxy, inexplicably, was better for it. Coop looked out over a holomap of the known systems. Who's next? Gia sighed. You mean which galactic institution are we going to improve next? I mean, Coop said, stretching his arms like a man about to start a bar fight with destiny, who's asking for a lesson in chaos. The Galactic Concordance had reached a conclusion. Not a unanimous one. Galactic Concordance conclusions were never unanimous, due to the Pluvian delegates' chronic inability to agree with anything that wasn't whispered 3 times under a full moon, but close enough. Earth was not to be resisted. Not because they were powerful, not because they were cunning, but because they were the cosmic equivalent of shaking a soda can and daring the universe to open it. So the Concordance adapted, slowly, painfully, like a bureaucrat trying to learn jazz. The galaxy had become a mixed-media masterpiece of order and chaos, law and loophole, diplomacy and interpretive dance. Earth had made everything weird, which somehow made everything work. But not everyone was thrilled. In a remote quadrant of the Helix Fringe, on a planet so forgotten its own map had A, Who Cares written across it, a conclave of ex-Ralnak generals, defunct warlords, and galactic hardliners met in secret. They called themselves the Purity Spiral, which was exactly the sort of name you'd expect from a group that thought fun was a war crime. They saw Earth as a blight, a cosmic infection, a fungus growing on the orderly lattice of galactic civilization, and they had a plan. Operation Final Chord. A superweapon, one last relic from before Earth's rise. A planet killer powered by ancient resonance technology and aimed squarely at Earth's sun. Subtle, no. Effective, possibly. Until Coop found out. Technically, Gia found out. She intercepted a spike in graviton frequencies, cross-referenced it with abandoned Ralnak protocols, and decrypted a transmission using a cocktail napkin and Randy's ability to guess passwords through sheer Floridian instinct. The moment she cracked it, she went pale. Coop, she said, spinning in her chair, they're going to blow up the sun. Coop blinked. That's rude. We need to intercept immediately, if they fire that weapon. I get it. Coop stood, cracked his knuckles, and grabbed his emergency toolkit, duct tape, a half-charged taser, and a kazoo. I'm taking the nope. Tell Randy to prep the engines. Gia, I want a trajectory and a playlist. No ska this time. Last time we hit an asteroid because you were skanking." She saluted, no promises. The SS Nope roared into action, its engines held together by faith, gum, and 2 quantum processors running on coffee and spite. They reached the helix fringe in under 12 hours, partly due to a newly developed warp shortcut someone found inside a black hole, and partly because Coop really wanted to try out the ship's espresso bar. The Purity Spiral's weapon loomed ahead, a massive construct wrapped in ancient alloy, covered in runes, spikes, and a banner that read, "Restore Order" in Comic Sans. Inside the weapon's command chamber, the Spiral's leader, a former Ralnek admiral named Davrex, stood before a countdown timer. "This is the final reckoning," he intoned, voice trembling with self-importance. "Today, chaos dies." He pressed the activation key. Nothing happened. Then the main view screen activated. Coop's face appeared, upside down, wearing aviators and sipping an energy drink labeled Sunpiss Extreme. "Hey Davi, how's the weather?" Davrex stared. "How did you get this frequency?" "I invented this frequency," Coop said, smug. "And more importantly, we're already inside your weapon." He wasn't lying. While Davrex was giving his dramatic speech, Gia had hacked the exterior turrets, Randy had jet-skied through a coolant tunnel, and Coop had been disabling key systems by the advanced tactical method of unplugging stuff and hitting it with a wrench. Panic swept the control room. Coop materialized in the middle of it via repurposed teleportation tech and a glitter bomb. Davrex screamed, "You mock the purity of order." "Buddy, I mocked a supreme executor while base jumping in a bathrobe. You're not special." They fought. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't cinematic. It was loud, clumsy, and involved 3 smoke grenades, a frying pan, and a duck-shaped explosive decoy named Kevin. In the end, Coop stood over the control console as the weapon's core began to overheat. "You could have done so much with all this tech," he said, panting, looking at the chaos unfolding on the screen. "You could have started a deep space food co-op, opened a petting zoo, created an orbital water park." Davrex spat, "You're insane." "Nope," Coop grinned, "I'm human." He pressed the final button. The weapon didn't explode. It sang. Gia had rerouted the resonance core into Earth's pirate radio network. Instead of unleashing solar death, the weapon broadcast Bohemian Rhapsody across 50 systems, synchronized to galactic starlight. Aliens wept, ships paused. Babies were born during the guitar solo. The Purity Spiral was done, not vaporized, just ignored, mocked, absorbed into a galaxy that no longer had time for genocide when there was karaoke on every channel. Weeks later, Coop sat on a floating deck above Saturn, sipping something purple and almost certainly illegal. Gia joined him, dropping into a chair. "So that's it then, galaxy saved, again." "For now," Coop said, "they'll try again, somebody always does." "And what will we do?" He grinned, "Whatever we feel like." "Great," she pulled out a tablet, "because I just got a ping, some big interdimensional cult trying to rewrite physics for tax benefits." He stood, "That's our cue." Randy sped by on a jet scooter, yelling, "YEHAW Quantum" just became personal. The SS Nope powered up. Humanity, the uninvited guest at the galactic party, the species that laughed at terror and turned war into board games, was on the move again. They didn't rule the stars. They didn't need to. Because every empire that rose, every tyrant that plotted, every monster that thought it had a plan, feared nothing. Until Earth got involved.